First story. Cheated on after 7 years, after leaving friends and family to pursue our future. Don't make these mistakes. This is going to be a rant. I'm using a throwaway account for obvious reasons. I just need to write it down sometimes. I often do it on my private notes and then delete it. You guys can ignore it, it's okay. I've been with my ex-girlfriend for over 7 years, while in university, during my 20s. Never lived together, we were students and couldn't afford it. Also, her parents were extremely religious and we couldn't even think about it, or ask for support. Every time we traveled we had to lie, because that was prohibited as well. It was tough, and very frustrating, both mentally and physically, since intimacy was limited to something like once a month, for the whole 7 years, and even less during COVID, and once again, during my 20s. So I had really to give up a lot in order to keep this relationship afloat. During the relationship, although I was mostly a student, I really tried my best, supported her with anxiety, listened to her, tried to show interest for her hobbies and what she liked, paid for every meal, for every trip, being patient with her peculiar family situation. I was studying in a tough field to pursue a better future for both of us, and part-time working to afford dates and put aside some money for the future. I did pretty well on both sides, graduated with honors, put aside over 50k euros while in my 20s, debt-free, and we were dreaming it every day about the future, about leaving the country of origin, about buying a house, maybe a couple kids. So when graduation came we talked about possible countries to move on to. I tried my best to get good opportunities, and got a very good offer from one of the candidate countries, making double what I could have in my country of origin after 10 years of career. Job wasn't maybe ideal for me, but it clicked in every possible way for what we were discussing. In every single part of this process I asked for her opinion. Even almost her permission to accept the job. Literally asked her to nod when I got the job offer through the phone. Assured that finally she would move in with me, confront her parents, so to finally be actually together as a couple. However, she wanted me to get some experience out of my parents' home, just to see how it is to live alone. Okay, last effort before some reward, right? I moved into the other country, alone, with only the promise of support and being soon reached by her too. Job sucked, I was half burnt out already. And moving bureaucratically was tough, so the first few months were not easy. I tried to get some emotional support, at least through some texts, calls, but she was getting colder and colder. Eventually she said that she found a summer job close to me and she was going to reach me. Finally, I thought. But another opportunity came for her. A summer camp lasting 3 months to learn about a field and be possibly employed in a large company. Pretty close to my new job at least. Summer camp was 10 hours away, trip away from my job. So once again this would mean not see each other for the whole summer again. She accepted, without even discussing it with me. I began to have some depression symptoms. Next time I saw her I told her that she should have started to treat the relationship as a priority if we wanted this to work. She got very defensive. Even said that she felt this was already over. Talked it over, and it seemed to be okay for a while. That summer camp was the last obstacle. Well, 3 weeks into the summer camp she called. She cheated. I was so tired. Got the first train to that place, 10 hours trip to talk, to see if it was possible to not lose her. I was in a dark place really. When I got there she was another person with respect to the one I used to know. Lied to me, although I didn't know the extent of the lies at the time. Told me that I wasn't the problem, but at the same time told me that problems started when I opened up about issues in the relationship. Looked through her phone, clearly several texts and pictures were deleted. Overlooked it, wanted to save the relationship. When I left it seemed there was a possibility to go on, but it was just another lie I was telling myself. Got back to my new country, alone. Within days I was ghosted. and the guy she cheated with was in every picture of her Instagram, with her new summer camp friends. I should have just deleted the whole thing, but kept looking for the next weeks. It was pure torture and I couldn't stop it or do anything about it. She waited for me to go back to my parents' house to break up completely with me, with a video call. After 7+ years, in the video call the classic "it's not you, it's me, I must give priority to my future," i.e. her summer camp promised job, career, and the amazing line, which still I hear in my head every day: "Thank you for the perfect university relationship." And then, nothing, ghosted again. And she didn't really wait or anything to try to make it less painful. On to the next guy. Lost my sleep and ability to eat for 1 month. Quickly went toward depression and suicidal thoughts. I was alone, in a country which wasn't mine, far from friends and family and any form of support, with a job that required a lot of mental effort, during a period when I didn't have my mind at all. I don't even know how I survived those months, having been cheated on in the previous important relationship. After 1 year, I was a bit careful at first but then grew to fully trust her. She seemed so sweet. But the end result was being cheated on, again. No matter the effort. In truth now I see how many red flags, dozens really, I ignored because I wanted so badly to make it work. This happened more than 1 year ago. I fully recovered physically, aside from nightmares, which often shorten my sleep. In fact, I have been so angry that a lot of effort went into the gym and trying to make it through. I've never been so in shape, mentally. I changed so much. I was way too patient and accommodating. Clear boundaries are needed. I was also very naive and thought that support was something that I could expect in a relationship. Also, luckily I'm now able to perform my job. I got some, I'd say 80% of my mental capacities back. Emotionally, I think this isn't going to go away honestly. Most of my happy memories are now with a person that I honestly loathe. It almost seems like I have the memories of another person, and my dreams keep reminding of them. I know that dreams are actually trying to make the memory less painful, but it's been a torture for a while now. Even when I go back to my home country, a lot of places are linked to such memories and it hurts. When I'm in my new home, in my new life, I feel such a distinct separation from the life I used to have. Trust issues are probably here to stay, and also my idea of what to expect in a relationship. If I'm ever going to go into another one, not in a rush whatsoever, is very different. I also realized that in a lot of cases, let's be clear, not all of them nowadays, many women don't really want to hear about your problems or support you. They just want someone that has his shit 100% together on his own, financially, emotionally, mentally, everything. This is what they mean when they say they want a mature guy. Of course, the same requirements don't apply for oneself at all. And this is not coming from my experience only. I've had the opportunity to look around at what was happening for several failed relationships among my friends, and this seems to be extremely common. I'm so bitter about this whole thing. And I think the worst part about this is that I've been talking with friends, family, and multiple therapists, just to see if some of them was sympathizing with me, not saying it 100% straight about this, and they all told me that it sucks for me, but I couldn't have done anything aside from what I did, and that I need now to pay the price for my patience, to go throughout this tough period, and it's just going to suck. Once again, completely on my own, because I'm stuck in this other country. I would much prefer to have done something explicitly wrong, but it turns out that even trying too much can be wrong. Rant over. Sorry, but this is helping a bit. Second story. Wife cheated in rehab. First post. Have been reading bored for a few weeks. Mentally still struggling at times, so thought it might be helpful to just write my story out. Apologies ahead of time as this got longer than I'd planned. My 38M wife, 39F, has struggled with alcoholism the past few years. Relationship has taken a hit given the lying, manipulation, etc. that comes along with that. A few months ago she went to rehab out of state, and at the recommendation of her counselors entered a nearby sober living facility as a transition. It was originally supposed to be for 6 weeks, and she extended it an additional 6 weeks, as she'd never been happier and healthier. We have 2 young kids, and she only flew home to see them once during this time away. I chalked it up to her focusing on getting better, and that we could emerge from this time focused on a stronger relationship. She comes home at the end of the 12 weeks and everything seems to be going okay for a few weeks. She's committed to meetings, therapy, making new sober friends, and just generally seems to be in a good place. She's texting a lot and disappearing to make calls, but is explained away by her as all the new support she has from friends out of state. She even makes plans to meet one of these friends for a weekend away. This is where things begin to unravel. While she's gone, I stumble across her alcohol stash, realizing at some point she had relapsed. This leads me to search all her typical hiding spots, and in the process discover a note clearly written in a man's handwriting. The note is addressed to her and is describing the time they spent together in sober living, thanking her for allowing him to remember what real love feels like and picturing spending his life with her. I also looked back at pictures she'd sent me in sober living and realized she'd stopped wearing her rings at some point while there. This sent me into a tailspin, and I reached out to her asking who she was with that weekend. She claimed a girlfriend from sober living, and I asked for a selfie. She went into defense mode, accusing me of being controlling and insane. She never did send a picture and continued her trip for another 2 days before returning home. During those 2 days, I pulled our cell phone records and discovered she'd been talking to a man daily that I was not aware of. Counter to much of the advice on this board, I confronted her with the evidence, including name of the AP, when she got home. She attempted to downplay the relationship, saying he was just a friend and they barely talked anymore. When I mentioned phone records, she again dismissed me as crazy. That night I moved out of our shared bedroom. The next morning, with calmer heads, I asked to see her phone and her text messages. Deflection and gaslighting followed. That afternoon she came to me and told me to look through her phone. She had clearly deleted all messages from this guy as well as messages from the friend she was supposed to be with that weekend, and another friend from sober living. I told her this was a deal breaker for me, and have since hired an attorney and drafted a separation agreement. While I never got the full gotcha moment, I'd seen enough to know this wasn't a person I can ever see myself trusting again, and she had no interest in full honesty and transparency. Her default was to protect herself and her image, not fight for me and our family. Appreciate anyone who has read this far. Not sure exactly what I'm looking for here. Maybe just some validation from internet strangers, but felt compelled to get my story out there. Update. How does she live with herself? Since that time I've gotten confirmation that it was an ongoing physical affair, though she doesn't know that. I've read plenty of the subs, so I know the answers to expect, but I'm still struggling. We were together 17 years and yet I now don't know who this person is. She's now someone who can look me dead in the eye and tell me that I'm insane or crazy for assuming that she had an affair. She continues to claim that she'd never do anything to hurt me or the family. And she likes to remind me that I'm the one who asked for the divorce, so I'm choosing to leave the family and tear them apart. I work to minimize contact and don't engage her, so the majority of these comments come in the form of unsolicited text messages. I try to redirect to only discussing the kids, but we are still under the same roof. Joys of a no-fault state and her dragging her feet on a settlement agreement, so only able to avoid contact or seeing her to a certain point. Her continuing lies and manipulation only further my conviction that divorce is the right and only choice. I just can't fathom how she's able to get up every morning and look herself in the mirror knowing the choices she's made and continues to make. Easy answer is she's just a shitty person, but is there any more to it than that? Update. reaching closure, and she digs back in. See my prior posts for background. Our home went under contract this weekend and separation agreement has been verbally agreed upon with plans to sign and notarize early this week. I plan to move into my new place later this week. She's on vacation, so last night was the last we had to spend under the same roof. Even though I knew it was coming, still caught a little off guard when she sent me a validation text this morning. Despite tears this week, I'm the happiest I've been in a while, probably years. It's confusing and sad that it's not with you. I should have just ignored it but responded with "You made your choices. Glad they're working out for you." She responded that she could dredge up where I was emotionally and financially abusive, but was the bigger person and wouldn't. Also said this was 2 years in the making and glad it finally happened. Again, and if 2 years in the making she could have grown a pair and asked for divorce before cheating, but water under the bridge. I checked out at that point and went back to ignoring her. While I feel moments of nostalgia, I honestly just feel at peace right now. For the first time in several months, there's not some big unknown. Selling the house, my future living situation, a separation agreement hanging over me. Well, this sucks. I don't know if I've looked forward to anything as much as I have being in my own place moving forward. I don't post a lot, but this group has been super helpful in getting me through the last few months. Third story. She did it. Again. What's next? So this all started back in December. She disappeared for a long time. And when I would try to talk to her and ask why she suddenly became dry, she said, "Is it because I'm not speaking to you 24/7? And then I found out she was cheating on her ex with me. Obviously I was pissed off, told the ex what I knew, and told her that she needed to change herself. It would have ended there, but I began to feel guilty for telling her off as the months passed. Eventually she messaged me on Instagram after I sent her a message explaining why I did what I did. She told me she missed me and that she had changed for the better and was focused on her friends and schooling, that I added so much to her life. I told her I wanted to wait until the end of the semester to decide if I wanted to talk to her or not, and she began sending me memes and trying to get me to speak to her earlier. I straight up told her the reason I was hesitant to speak to her was because I didn't trust her, and that I was afraid she would just pull back again, and I'd just be left angry and hurt once more. She assured me she genuinely wanted to speak to me again and that she missed our talks. This was all fine and good, and after I finished the nightmare that was the final quarter, we started talking again. She would make romantic jokes, be playful with me, joke about us being domestic together, call me pet names, etc., etc. This was also nice and good, but in the back of my mind, I was very suspicious of it for a few reasons. For one, she has this friend that I'll call M. I ended up being in a 4-way call with M, this girl and her other friend, to play video games together. The first call I felt this weird energy from the both of them, but it didn't seem like they were together because this girl described them as friends. The second call she told them to get a girlfriend, and was flirting with me while on call, when M told her to keep it in our DMS. On its own this seems like the opposite of cheating, but honestly it felt like she was hiding something from me. I can't describe the feeling. So one day I'm bored on Twitter and I start getting recommended this account with a username that's similar to this girl's other socials, and she is following M. I click on the account, thinking of messaging her hi before I'm immediately struck with a few things. For one, she had a lot of mentions to M, specifically referring to M as her boyfriend-girlfriend dating from a few months before I came back in contact with her. And eventually they started matching this drawing of two people fucking. And it weirds me out because when she isn't hiding someone, she makes it obviously she's not single. But I noticed this account also was very secretive, like, they're the only two people following each other secretive. There were some other signs that just lead to me making a comment while I was texting her implying I thought she and M were together. And she told me I was very in touch with her personal friends, and I said that I was curious. She asked why and I told her straight up I felt like she was hiding things from me again. She tells me that she was iffy about me looking through her private life, that her friends didn't ask for that, and that some things are better private. And while I completely understand that, with all due respect, this is something you tell someone before doing all she did? Because the last time this happened it ended with pictures being sent. The last time this happened I had to watch a girl cry because of her bullshit, and she didn't even give me clarity on what the fuck was going on. I also know this account was hers because of the way she spoke on it, and a lot of the posts were things she sent me as well. But whatever, I told her I was sorry for looking through the account. She ghosted me for 3 days, and I was a wreck feeling like I was crazy until I had enough and told her if she didn't contact me I cease any and all relation to her. She said she was sorry, that she wanted time to herself, and that she didn't like having serious conversation with me over and over again. Suddenly when I suggested the idea of no longer being in contact with her, her demeanor completely changed. She said we'll get over this hump, etc., etc. And to this fucking day she still isn't being honest with me. She hasn't told me if they're dating even though it's so glaringly obvious. She sends me pictures of what's so obviously her partner and tells me shit like this guy does nothing but embarrass me. I'm just waiting for the next time she says something like this ADP to tell her that she's the one who chose to date that person and frankly she's either a shitty partner or they're completely spineless. Since this whole thing I've just not been feeling good at all. I need some advice on how to cope during this inevitable future confrontation, because honestly I'm so tired of feeling like a toy to her or something. I've debated sending her texts to her partner, but honestly unless I know the nature of their relationship, I don't think this would be smart. For all I know maybe they're in an open relationship, but the fact has just refuses to tell me is making me upset. What would you do? Fourth story. Wife, 29F emotionally cheated on me, 34M, and I truly don't know how to get past it. So in April I caught my wife having an emotional affair with a man I've never met and not from around our area. She sent nudes and she explained very directly she had no feelings whatsoever. The night I caught her she was very intoxicated. We both were, but I find I handle my alcohol well even when very intoxicated. She was all over me for the first time in a while. Don't get me wrong, we were always all over each other, but this night was different. She drunkenly wrapped herself around me and reassured me that she loves me and only me and would never do anything to compromise us. And then boom, she passed out and I couldn't help myself. My urge to look through her phone overcame me. I almost didn't find anything as I was drunk and wasn't looking in the right spots. I stumbled upon her recently deleted photos on iOS. I know her passcodes so it was easy to get in. But that's when I found the nudes she sent. I was shocked to say the least, floored. My chest instantly rose from my stomach and came back up. I instantly woke her up and asked her about it. Her being extremely intoxicated tried to play it off saying she has no idea what I was talking about until she realized I had her phone. She started on Instagram then moved the conversations to Snapchat. Fast forward 3 months, we are making progress. She is showing me she's remorseful and taking the steps to change. But at the same time, I am so damaged that I think everything she's doing is emotionally cheating. Still puts her phone screen facing down, never leaves her phone for a second. In the last 3 months she has left her phone unattended maybe 5 times, but I think she does that just to try and prove she's being faithful to our marriage. I've stopped tracking her location as she activated Find My iPhone app for her location. But only because when I caught her the affair partner got all crazy, and was attempting to contact her, and threatened to post her nudes online somewhere. She has since changed her number and made her accounts private and blocked him. Until last week I happened to be scrolling her followers on TikTok and I come across a profile that was suspicious. It was him, the affair partner. She was following him and he was following her. He was liking her posts, and when I confronted her she said it was only to track his profile in case he posted her nudes so she can screenshot them and charge him. But I don't believe that for a second. I asked why she didn't tell me, and she said she didn't think she had to cause she wasn't doing anything. But I can't shake the feeling that she is not being truthful. On good days, I still feel like I resent her, and I don't know if I can get past it. Sorry if it's confusing or jumbled, I'm just so far gone it's hard to fully entail everything. Fifth story. My girlfriend, 20 years old, cheated on me, 21 years old, with her ex-boyfriend 7 months ago, and now I don't know what to do. I've been with my girlfriend for just over a year now, but I've recently found out that she met her ex and had sex with him while I was away working. I had a strong feeling something was off, so I went through her phone and found messages from 7 months ago between her and her ex. Messages including how they still had feelings for each other and how they should get back together. I confronted her about this, and she tried to play it off as a one-time thing, and that she didn't mean it, and that nothing came from it. I didn't believe her, so I messaged her ex asking him what happened. She continuously told me not to do that as it was apparently pointless. He told me that they hooked up while me and her was 4 months into out relationship and that it was a one-time thing. After hearing this from him, I again confronted my girlfriend about it. For about 2 hours straight she was adamant that it was lies to get us to break up and that she never met him. I eventually got her to confess. She now keeps telling me about how guilty she feels and how it was a mistake and she will never do it again. She has told me she doesn't have feelings for her ex, and that she wasn't thinking when she met him for sex. She's offered to let me have her social media passwords so I can see that she's not talking to him again. I'm now in a seemingly impossible predicament, as I do love my girlfriend and I do want us to work out. On the other hand, I feel like I should have more self-respect and leave her no matter how hard that may be. I can't get the thought of her and her ex doing that out of my head, and it's playing over and over on my mind constantly. Like, will she do this again? Does she still have feelings for her ex?